We talked about supporting a network of girls' shelters in Kenya that's called the Nanyori Network of Girls' Shelters. Nanyori is a Maasai and Samburu word that means a person who is loved. And the Indigenous Information Network is supporting 6 different shelters in different parts of Kenya, all in indigenous and pastoralist communities that serve as sort of refuges for girls who are escaping the very dangerous practice of female genital mutilation and also escaping from forced marriages, sometimes at ages as young as 11, 12, 13, 14. Girls in those communities are not considered marriageable until they've undergone FGM. Once girls are married, it's very, very unlikely that they're able to continue with their education. In a lot of communities, even if parents understand the health risks and the trauma involved in FGM and decide that they're not going to do that to their daughters, they often are forced by other people in the community. What we found with the girls' shelters is that often girls and their mothers will work together to get the girl out of the community and into one of the shelters. Mothers in those communities also don't have any say whatsoever when it comes to marriage. That's considered an economic transaction, and it's part of the responsibility of fathers to arrange marriages and, sort of see the process through. And so Lucy was telling us a lot of stories about a lot of girls and their mothers who found out about the network of shelters and hatched a plan to get those kids out of there before they had to undergo FGM and were forced to marry. Once the girls are at the shelter, a couple of things happen that are really crucial. One thing is that they are really well cared for by a really loving community of older women and other girls, and where and when it's needed, they get counseling. They're taken care of both in terms of having food and access to health care, access to clean water. They also really crucially are able to finish their education. So it's not just a shelter, it's also a kind of a boarding school. Some of the 6 shelters function as primary schools, and one of them functions as a secondary school. A woman named Jennifer said, "I was married very, very young and I became a mother. I never had a chance to finish school, and so it's so important to me that my girls can go to school." There are a lot of problems in our community. The men beat the women, but despite all of the beatings and the problems I've endured, I am strong. I'm a strong mother, and I'm proud of that for my girls. And this was another woman, an older woman. She said, "At first I went to school, but then I went through all the traditions," and that's a reference to FGM. "I was married, and my husband beat me for many years. I still have these problems, but I'm still able to take care of my children. My husband forced my girls to marry, so they did not go to school. Their husbands do not let them study. But later, I managed to take some of the girls in our village to school, and also some of the boys. Some of the girls have even finished school, and I'm very proud of that." A lot of the women talked about this set of problems, and they identified FGM and forced early marriage as the biggest problems that Indigenous women face. And it was, again and again, women talking about having been denied the right to education and how determined they are to make sure that their own kids can go to school.